So I want to talk briefly about color mixing. No matter what kind of paint you use, whether it's liquid watercolors, tempera pans, or watercolors in pans like this, you have opportunity to be able to allow colors to blend together. But certain colors look better together than others. Remember the color wheel. We've got our primaries, red, yellow, and blue. And then the colors in between are our secondaries and intermediates. If you try to blend colors that are near each other on the color wheel, they're going to make a nice appealing blend to create that new color. But if you choose colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel or far apart from each other, when you blend those, they just create a muddy brown. So we usually want to stay away from that. So what I'm looking at in the color wheel is colors that are near each other, not far away from each other, like opposites. This chart shows you some warm colors and how they look when they mix. So for example, yellow and orange are near each other on the color wheel. So if I have yellow and orange and they blend together, they create a pretty yellowish orange color. So all of these are nice blends. These are the ones you want to avoid. These are the ones that are far away from each other on the color wheel. When they mix together, they make yucky browns and kind of brownish greens sometimes. Okay. I'm not going to talk about these paints right now. I want to focus on these liquid watercolor type. This is in a container that has the color blended with water already. You do not need to put water in. You do not need to mix them. They are ready to dip your brush in and paint with. There's nothing that you need to do to them. You don't want to add water to them too much. So when you rinse a brush, because you're ready to change to a new color, if you just touch your brush to the inside of the water basin, that extra water will drip down instead of putting that extra water in the paint. Because the more water I add to this liquid paint, the lighter the color becomes, and eventually it gets so pale you can barely see it. So the way they are now is the way we want them to be. Now, there's a few techniques to learn. In this example, do you see that sharp line that is showing the green side right next to the blue side? For me to have that happen in a painting, if I want to paint two colors next to each other, but I want a crisp, clean line in between them, I have to let the color dry first. When I painted that green, I did not paint the blue until the green was dry. That's how I get that effect. Compare that to this one. This one I painted the green, but I did not let the green dry. I immediately painted the blue right next to it, and they bled together right there. So you can see I don't have that nice crisp line. That's my choice as an artist, whether I want this effect or this effect, and I have to use my watercolors appropriately. In this example, I let this pink square dry, and then I did that purple squiggle on top of it. So you can see the purple squiggle distinctly. But here, again, I didn't let the color dry first. The pink was wet, and when I painted that exact same squiggle, it bled out, and so you don't see it very well. Again, it's just a different technique depending on whether you're working on dry paint or working wet into wet. So none of these really talk about blending, but this one does. This is what we mean by a blend. This square is showing green changing into a bluish green and then ending in blue. It is a gradual change from green to blue. When green and blue mix together, it makes blue-green, which is what you see in the middle where these two colors overlap. You can distinctly see the two colors, but you can't tell exactly where one color stops and the other color begins. The way that I did this is the green and the blue were both wet when I painted, and where they met, I overlapped my brush strokes. Let me demonstrate. So here's a paper. So I want to pick colors that are going to look nice together. So maybe I'll pick yellow and green. Yellow and green are near each other on the color wheel. If I do yellow, and I paint it on my paper. And then I clean my brush off, get my extra water off the brush, and now I will go into this red. I don't have orange, I have red. But red and yellow are close enough on the color wheel. Red and yellow make orange. So here's my red, and I'm painting right beside, okay? But I want to see orange in there. I want to see the red and the yellow blend together. I'm not going to take this brush with red and paint this whole thing, because if I did that, I would be mixing all of the yellow and red together, and then I would end up with an orange box. What I want to see is a change from yellow to red. So I'll clean my brush off, get the extra paint off, and right here where these two colors meet, I can use my brush to blend them together, and you'll start to see orange. Now, is it necessary sometimes to get more of a color in there to make it happen? Yes. So in this case, yeah, I can see the orange, but maybe I need to go in with a little bit more yellow just to overlap right here to try to have that change happen. So now I see yellow into orange into red. And when that dries, you won't see those distinct lines. You'll just see a gradual change from yellow to orange to red. That is how you blend paints.